So what Jesus is trying to do in his words here, and notice that he is using poetic parallelism. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. We have talked about that in the past, but it's a way that Jewish people in the land of Israel, in the Hebrew language, and under the influence of the Hebrew Bible, or what we call the Old Testament, are doing constantly. That is, sort of repeating the same point using different words each time. It's a way of emphasizing, it's a way of clarifying, but it's a very poetic way of speaking. And Jesus uses this kind of approach to communication constantly in his teaching. What did you go out to look at? What did you go out to see? Why did you go out to see a prophet? It's three different ways of basically saying the same thing. Here's another kind of look at this verse 17. We played the flute and you didn't dance. We sang the song, the funeral song, and you didn't mourn. Jesus has just used, again, poetic parallelism. As an example, let me read to you some of the words of Psalm chapter 21. Just as an example of poetic parallelism in Jesus' Bible. This is saying the same thing two different ways, or maybe three different ways. O Lord, in your strength the king will be glad, and in your salvation how greatly the king will rejoice. Saying the same thing two different ways. You have given him his heart's desire, and you have not withheld his request, the request of his lips. You meet him with blessings of good things. You set a crown of fine gold on his head. Just two ways of saying the same thing. He asked life from you, and you gave it to him. Length of days forever and ever. Glory is great through your salvation. His glory is great through your salvation. Splendor and majesty you place upon him. These are just a few examples. I just picked Psalm 21, the first few verses, as a random selection. You can go through any of the wisdom literature, any of the poetic literature, and you're going to find this literary device of poetic parallelism, saying the same thing in multiple ways, using different words each time, but drilling down on the same point. Now, here's Jesus. We played the flute for you and you didn't dance. We sang a dirge and you didn't mourn. You remember when Jesus says, our Father, and then he says, who art in heaven? Or my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Or he causes the rain to fall on the evil and the good. He causes the sun to shine on the just and the unjust. Foxes have their holes, birds of the air have their nests. Jesus' teaching is full of this use of Hebrew poetic parallelism. Where does he get it from? Well, first of all, his first point of inspiration is that he gets it from his Bible. Jesus is so in touch with the Word of God, the Scriptures, the Hebrew Bible, that it imbues his entire being. And when he speaks in the cadence of the Hebrew Bible. Here's another point, is that people in his world are used to hearing this. They hear it when the Bible is read. They hear it when the Bible is quoted. Other people in their society are using this kind of approach to communication. So this is very common. This is very normal. And Jesus is wanting to communicate to everybody and hit them right where they are. So he doesn't come speaking in his world Polish or Russian. He comes speaking in the native language, and he is using these kinds of common points of contact, including literary forms like poetic parallelism, so that he optimizes his opportunity to communicate clearly to his audience. He's meeting people right where they are. Do you suppose that's still the case? You think that Jesus would want to, when he communicates with you, when he's encouraging you or challenging you or calling you to some particular action or way of life? Do you think that maybe he would speak your language? Do you think that this Jesus who loves you so much that he died for you would be willing then to meet you right where you are? And the answer is, well, yeah, obviously. So I guess maybe let him, be ready to receive from him and expect him to meet you right where you are, and then to challenge you to go where he wants you to go, to the next level.